Good evening and welcome to Tallahassee, Florida, and to Jo-Ann Graf Field at the Seminole Softball Complex, where we await a capital city collision between the Florida A&M Rattlers, 8-6 out of the SWAC, and the 10th-ranked Seminoles of Florida State at 12-4. Always fun to have Florida A&M and FSU on the field, and we're excited to be here for it. Alongside the FSU infielder Brandon Reichert, I'm Sean Davison. Thank you for joining us here this evening. And Brandon, I said it, it's always great to have these two teams together in the same place, but it's not just a feel-good story. Each of these teams is playing well as well.
Absolutely, Sean. It's always cool to see two teams from Tallahassee playing as good a softball as they are. FAMU, 7 wins in their last 10 games. Florida State hosted a tough tournament this past weekend with 3 great teams. Walking away from that one with 3 wins. It's going to be a great battle here today in Tallahassee.
And a great day to celebrate 2 very proud programs. And just to give you a feel for where we've come from, Florida A&M founded in 1887, roughly 100 years later, the softball program was founded. The NFCA Hall of Famer Veronica Wiggins at the helm for 29 of their seasons. On the flip side for Florida State, founded in 1851, their first year as a softball program was in 1971, and Jo-Ann Graf, also an NFCA Hall of Famer, 2-time national champ, was at the helm for 29 seasons. And of course, when these two programs get together, you can expect to see Coach Wiggins and Dr. Graf in the house here at the Seminole Softball Complex. What a treat to have both of those legends of the game on hand for the latest installment of this matchup. Ashton Danley, the junior out of Winchester, Tennessee, will get the start in the circle for the Seminoles. 14 in the third, prior innings of work, a 4.40 ERA, 10 walks to 14 strikeouts for Ashton, who will also bat for herself in the Seminoles batting 9. Let's get to it here in Tallahassee. The first offering to Nariah Lee is away for ball number 1.
I'll tell you what, Sean, well said.
So the first ball to Nariah Lee. I appreciate that, by the way, Brandon. And that is slapped away foul to even the count. Lee will lead things off for Florida A&M, followed up by a couple of shakeups in the batting order. Michaela Fernandez, Amaya Ramos, Amari Brown, Keely Spooner, Jordan Douglas, Samantha Smith, Michaela Register, and Kiara Beltre at the bottom of the order for Florida A&M.
And I'll tell you what, Nariah Lee, you said getting the start in the leadoff spot here today. 7 for 15 last weekend, batting .424 coming into this game. But stat that jumps off the page to me is those 7 stolen bases. She's already scored 15 runs already this season, too. So you know when she does get on base, she is an absolute force to be reckoned with.
A very dangerous table setter for Florida A&M. As Ashton Danley with a call to the dugout, looks like she needs something. We'll see what that is.
Wondering if her equipment related, or maybe there's something going on with the rubber in the circle. But
well, their head coach Lonnie Alameda is going to make the trip out. So too is the home plate umpire Roger Potts, who, by the way, is going to be joined by Donald Purnell, the second at first, and Michael Stewart at third. Extended conversation here. Well, for Florida State defensively, Sturgis will get the start in left with Kennedy Harp out in center. Shelby McKenzie will be in right. And for the Seminoles in the infield, Beecham and Bueno out on the corners. In the middle of the infield, it'll be Griggs and Heller. Behind the plate will be Maddie Fry for Ashton Danley. And when we get to the Noles bats, Anna Hind, who has seen time in the backstop herself, will pick up the bat as the Noles DP. Well, these things don't happen often, Brandon. As somebody who played and competed at this level before, they don't happen often, but they do happen. You're locked in and ready to go. What does it take to stay locked in the midst of a little momentary delay here?
Well, I'll tell you too. Danley is obviously has a good feel for what goes on in that circle, right? And the grounds crew here has been so good. But I'll tell you, as a Florida State infielder or an outfielder, you gotta try to keep your adrenaline going. You see them out there kind of talking to each other, getting ready for this next pitch from Danley. But it is tough to keep that adrenaline going sometimes in these situations. It's been a fairly long delay already, and we're only 4 pitches into the game.
3-1 the count to Nariah Lee, the senior out of Georgia, whenever we do resume. Ashton Danley's going to take a few pitches and see how everything feels.
I think I'd probably tell a dad joke or two if I was out there.
I'm shocked.
Just to keep everybody on their toes, keep it light.
Well, you've been keeping me on my toes for the last couple of weeks as we've gotten this softball season started.
Hey, I appreciate that.
Of course.
Do my best.
As Nariah Lee gets set to step into the batter's box. Good opportunity out of the gates here for Nariah.
Absolutely. And like I said, she had 7 hits over the weekend, 6 of those in her last 3 games. So not just a threat to get on base, but one that can really move once she's on there.
Ashton Danley picks up the ground ball and puts it away at first, and there you go. The veteran in the circle, she's thrown as many innings as anybody has over the last couple of years for Florida State. She knows if something doesn't feel right and immediately goes back to work and records the leadoff out.
Great pitch right there by Danley to come back, first pitch. And that's tough. That's tough on the leadoff hitter to have that big of a break within your at-bat. But great job by Danley to come out and get that quick out.
Well, I mentioned that there was a shakeup in the batting order. Here is Michaela Fernandez out of Altamont Springs, Florida. And Michaela has seen some time in the batting order. She's made several starts this season, but really she's starting today in place of Cece Maple, the sophomore out of Umatilla, Florida, who is down with an injury and really, frankly, Brandon, had been the best bat in what has been a very good Florida A&M batting 9. The Rattlers are optimistic that they will get her back sooner than later, but she's going to be out a little while.
She is, and like you said, Maple, a staple in this lineup. She was actually FAMU's leading hitter last year and was off to a banner start to begin this season. So that's going to be one that hurts the FAMU lineup here for just a little while, but hoping to get Cece Maple back in there as soon as possible.
Yeah, the 4th highest batting average in the SWAC when you account for players who haven't averaged the standard 2.5 ABs a game. You have the few that'll come in. They've maybe had 4 ABs all season. They record 3 hits to their credit, and they've got the 750 batting average,
right?
Which, some metrics will say, oh, they lead the league. Well, they do, but they've also barely been to the plate.
Well, you can tell Fernandez also has been a big pinch runner. 6 stolen bases already on the season.
Good spot there on the corner by Danley.
Like you said, not a lot of at-bats, and you see that right there. That's a tough at-bat against a really, really good pitcher. So Danley able to strike out the 2-hole hitter, Michaela Fernandez, with a great pitch located on the outside corner.
Amaya Ramos steps in. Start number 4 of the season for her, the freshman out of Taylor, Florida. Hit that pretty well, out to right field. McKenzie charging in. Takes care of it, 3 up, 3 down in the top of the first for Florida A&M. The first inning of this crosstown showdown between the Rattlers and the Noles. Tallahassee with the Noles bats set to come to the plate. It'll be Samantha Smith who gets the start in the circle for Florida A&M. A handful of appearances on the season to this point for Smith, who, like Ashton Danley, will also hit for herself, where she leads Florida A&M in home runs. But pretty good numbers in the circle as well through 23 1/3 innings of work. An ERA right above 3 through these first couple of weeks of play as she gets set to square off with Marin Heller. No Isa Torres in the lineup as of yet. Still out for precautionary reasons for Florida State. Seminoles in no rush, want to make sure she's 100% and good to go. So Heller, who traditionally this season has batted second behind Torres, will lead off now for the 4th consecutive game. It's 2-0 quickly to Marin.
Yeah, Seminole coaching staff relying heavily on Marin Heller, who stepped up as a freshman, played a very good second base, and has been outstanding in this lineup for the Noles, already leading the team in hits with 20 coming off last weekend. And this is one that can hit a double, Sean.
She's got 7. Tops of the lineup in that category as well, as she inherits a hitter's count here, 3-1. More on that in a second. We'll introduce you to the rest of the FSU batting order. Heller will be followed up by Beecham, Danley, Hind, Harp, Sturgis, McKenzie, Griggs, Bueno. Sturgis on the weekend, 6 of 10 with several doubles, a home run, a handful of RBI. That young lady had herself a coming out party.
I'll tell you what, she did it too against some of the tougher pitching that the Seminoles saw. She had 4 of those 6 hits against Alabama, including 2 doubles and a home run. So I'll tell you what, it's awesome to see her hitting the way she's hitting, but to do it against such high caliber pitching makes you think that Seminoles are in for something special coming.
Beecham waits on that, drives it to left, off the wall. Heller had to hold at second. Now she will round third, and Marin will score. Florida State is on the board first.
Beecham being aggressive, first pitch, gets under this ball, but I'll tell you what, this ball carries. She hits the ball so hard, and this ball carries all the way off the center of the wall in left field. And look at the hustle by Heller. Once she sees that ball down, she's thinking home the entire time. And Beecham with an RBI double here in the first for the Seminoles.
Ashton Danley steps in. Right back up the middle. And Beecham is hung up between second and third. Will buy time for Danley to get into second herself.
I'll tell you what, a very well hit ball to the pitcher, right? Pitcher does a great job of fielding her position. And the ball was hit so quickly that I think Jason, he thought this ball was going to make it up the middle, but great job by the pitcher to get the lead runner right there. But the speedy Danley and the veteran move was to go to second base right there. So putting herself in scoring position was a very veteran move by Danley, even after the ground out or the fielder's choice to the pitcher.
Samantha Smith, you took the words right out of my mouth. Really nice job of fielding her position, being able to retire Beecham. The lead runner for the Seminoles, Anna Hind, the DP, steps in, the freshman out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Good numbers for Hind. Batting average at .385, 8 runs driven in. And a great opportunity here to add to that with her teammate Ashton Danley in scoring position.
This is something we saw the Noles do very, very well over the weekend. Put themselves in scoring position, right? And have quality at bats. They ran the bases for the most part very well, but quality at bats with runners in scoring position with 2 strikes and with 2 outs. That was kind of the name of the game over the weekend for the Noles.
Yeah, Florida State largely last weekend checked all the boxes situationally, just had a hard time getting the offense going against some outstanding Alabama pitching. But certainly FSU, in hindsight, when you look back on the weekend, yeah, those losses are going to be frustrating. You'd certainly love to have won one of them. But I think you've learned a lot about your team. You've at least put yourself in a position against high-end competition. You're only going to benefit from that in the long run. As the count goes 2-2 against Hind. Well outside there to make it full.
And I know that we have done nothing but talk about this freshman class at Florida State, but Anna Hind has really kind of solidified a spot in the middle of this lineup for the Noles as a freshman.
Puts a lot of balls in play, does Hind. Doesn't walk a lot, but she will here. Doesn't strike out a lot either. And she'll pass the bat along to Kennedy Harp.
Yeah. I was going to say, Hind, great job. She's hits the ball. Like you said, she barrels a lot of balls up. Even when she gets out, they seem to be loud outs. Great at bat right there, showing a little patience.
Take a look at the defense for Florida A&M. Beltre, Fernandez, Lee out in the outfield, left to right. Brown and Ramos up the middle. Canty, Register out on the corner. Spooner in the backstop for Samantha Smith. And I mentioned Kennedy Harp. Here she is. And Kennedy is still looking for that first hit. Only 4 ABs in largely a pinch hitting role. Did make a start at the very end of the weekend against Elon as the Noles DP. Has a couple of walks to 1 strikeout over the first few games of her career. Or, excuse me, not her career.
Her season.
Her season. Her career is decorated.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of folks are so thrilled to see her back.
I would call her Miss Triple from last year. Just every single game seemed like she had another triple.
One and one the count. Changeup at 48 miles per hour. Just devilishly slow.
I'll tell you what, that was my kryptonite as a hitter. If you had a great changeup, man, you were gonna get me. You're gonna get me out on that front foot. And that's a really good job. So it's a, like you said, devastating, right? That's a 16, 18 mile an hour difference from her rise ball. That's really a top quality pitch if she can get it in there and locate it.
That'll get all the way to the backstop. Florida State will advance the runners. Danley to third, Hind to second. And a green light opportunity here for Kennedy Harp to record her first hit of the season.
Get an RBI, get
in a big way, yeah.
Yeah, big opportunity for Kennedy Harp to come out of that time off she had.
Instead, she'll walk for the third time.
And speaking of 3 walks, that's the 3rd walk issued by FAMU this inning. And that'll bring the bases loaded for arguably the Seminoles' hottest hitter, Sean.
Well, we highlighted her in the batting order. Here's McKenna Sturgis, who is getting her career rolling over these first few weeks in Tallahassee. And what a start to it she is off to, batting .372. Again, 6 of 10 over the Noles last weekend against the likes of Dartmouth, Elon, and oh yeah, the Crimson Tide of Alabama.
I like how aggressive she is at the plate. Only 2 walks, but only 1 strikeout. She just likes swinging the bat, and this is an opportunity where you want to swing the bat because she got the bases loaded. 11 RBIs after this weekend, 3 homers, 5 doubles on the season, 16 hits for McKenna Sturgis so far.
Off speed, above the zone, 2-1 to Sturgis.
I love how fast her hands are. She swings the bat so fast, and she always looks locked in. See those eyes? She is locked in on this pitch.
Caught a piece and fouled it away. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Big opportunity here from the FAMU Rattlers to make a big pitch.
Instead, it's off the plate from Smith.
That's a great eye by Sturgis. Good take. That's a tough one. With 2 strikes, you don't want to put it in the umpire's hands, right? You want to make sure you're expanding your zone. Just like that. That's one of those where it's just off the plate. It could be a ball, but it could be a strike. You got to keep fighting until the pitcher makes a mistake and comes back over the plate, gives you something to drive.
Good battle here. On the ground, deep in the hole. Florida State will plate a second run.
And this is what we were talking about for the Seminoles, right? Sturgis, who's been hotter than an inferno, right? Battles her rear end off right here with a 2-strike approach, fouls a couple off, and just gets a ball that she can put in play, finds a hole, gets an infield single, another RBI, and I'll tell you what, she is a tough out right now.
It's a Florida State lineup that hasn't necessarily done anything overly flashy in this first inning, but they have already sent 6 to the plate, and they have chased the starting pitcher for Florida A&M, Samantha Smith. 2 runs on the board, bases full of Seminoles. And it looks like they're going to be bringing in. Back here in Tallahassee, where I mentioned that Samantha Smith was chased out of the circle by the Florida State batters in this first inning. Enters Zoriana Hughes, who is a preseason all-SWAC first-teamer and who has led Florida A&M in both innings pitched and in ERA in each of her 2 prior seasons here in Tallahassee.
Yeah, this is her 11th appearance. She's been a staple as a starter for the Rattlers, but not getting the start here today, but obviously making a quick appearance here in the first inning. Also has a save on the season. This has been FAMU's go-to player in the circle so far this season.
Junior out of Lake City, Florida. You mentioned that she has a chunk of their starts, exactly half of them coming in to today. And a handful of those relief appearances, including the save for Zoriana. In fact, coming into this season, you go over the first couple of years of her career. Her career ERA was sub-2, 1.99 to be exact.
You got to believe with as much as they're going to rely on her, it's going to be down there by the end of this season as well. Already 36 2/3 innings thrown this season.
And it'll be Shelby McKenzie who steps in to face Hughes first. Pulling the trigger on the first pitch she offers, fouling it away. 0-1 to McKenzie. Three home runs for Shelby McKenzie. One of them was a grand slam against Iowa.
So you say she enjoys hitting with the bases loaded, huh?
Yeah, she's pretty good at it.
McKenzie with 3 homers.
Line drive back to short. Hind was able to get back to third in time. What a play there by Brown.
Yeah, Mari Brown, this ball absolutely laced. Great job playing the shortstop position. And you see how quickly she goes to third to try to get that double play. But great base running by the freshman and a Hine to get back right there. You always freeze on a line drive, and that's why right there. You got to be able to get back to the bag, not get doubled off. Good piece of hitting by Shelby McKenzie, though.
100%. As Haley Griggs steps in. She has taken over for Isa Torres defensively up the middle of the infield for Florida State, the freshman out of Ohio. Off to the big part of the ballpark, peeling foul into that hitting deck.
Haley Griggs, one of those bats in the lineup that the Noles are really trying to activate, get going. Great opportunity here in the first, though. Got bases loaded. Be great to see her find a gap right here.
Pitch off the corner, 2-1 to Haley Griggs. Softly out in front, up the middle, Florida A&M able to make the flip to second to eliminate the threat, but 2 big runs score for the Seminoles in the first inning, in which they sent 8 to the plate against the Rattlers to lead it by a couple, heading to the second. Back here in Tallahassee, the home of both teams playing in this game tonight. Florida A&M's second-year head coach, Brittany Beal, looking on from the third base coach's box. I mentioned in year 2, just a couple of miles down the road at Florida A&M. And what a year 1 she had, advancing the Rattlers all the way to the SWAC championship game, where they ultimately lost 3-1. But if that's the tone you're going to set in year 1 of your coaching tenure, boy, the future is bright for Florida A&M.
It's tough to come into a program as a first-year head coach, especially one as storied as FAMU, and have the success that she had. 28-20 was her record, which is outstanding. Anything above 500, that's great. But, man, what a tournament they had. Getting to that tournament was important, but, man, what they did in that tournament was impressive.
In fact, they scored first in it, had the early lead, and had themselves in position to make it not 1 but 2 Tallahassee teams in the NCAA tournament this past May and June. But, boy, they retain a good bit of that experience. They add on to it. And it's Amari Brown who leads things off here for the Rattlers in the top of the second. One of a few players that can play in the field and do that in addition to hit for Florida A&M. And Brown has been a real red-hot bright spot for them all season.
I'll tell you what, Brown, you're absolutely right. Great pitcher, 6 appearances, 2 starts, but a .390 average coming into this game. That just went up. She scored 14 runs. She is leading this team in hits, 16, and just not doing it with singles like you saw right there. She's got doubles, triples, and homers, and not to mention 15 RBIs.
Keely Spooner's going to step in and take a strike from Ashton Danley, and Spooner is actually the RBI leader for Florida A&M with 17 coming into today, the senior out of Marianna, Florida.
And Brown and Spooner, we talked to Coach before the game. They've been teammates since T-ball. Can you believe that? How awesome is that? Get to play college softball and hit right next to each other in the lineup with a friend you grew up playing with. Pretty special.
Grew up from, as you mentioned, the T-ball days. Started their college careers at Chipola together. Both ended up at Florida A&M. So that trend continues for Florida A&M. Built-in connection between Brown and Keely Spooner. A couple of players that they have pulled in from down the road in Chipola. As Jordan Douglas steps in, the junior from Calera, Alabama. And Jordan, for her part, was a JUCO transfer this offseason from Southern Union State Community College, where last year she batted .373 for SUCC, including 20 homers, 54 RBI, 40 runs scored, and she was a second-team JUCO All-American.
I'll tell you what, you hit 20 homers and you think second team All-American.
Exactly.
Holy smokes.
Well, as soon as I saw the average and the power numbers, the question was, what All-American team was she on? It wasn't a question of if.
Right.
It was which one is she on?
That's a great job. You think about FAMU creating a culture of JUCO transfers, bringing in those girls that have the experience playing, and not just anybody with experience. You're bringing in, JUCO All-Americans. Very, very impressive, and that goes to show how, Brittany Beal is going to build this program for the future. Already off to such a good start. We talked about the head coaches here being here for 29 years. Only 27 more to go after this season for Beal.
Well, the first two are off to a great start. 3-2 the count here to Douglas. And worth mentioning, all of that success for Florida A&M, all of their conference titles, 13 in total, the last of which coming in 2017, came in the MEAC. What a pitch by Ashton Danley.
Outstanding location right here. I don't think Jordan Douglas liked it too much, but it looked to catch a lot of the plate from our view. Really good pitch right there. Just perfectly located rise ball on the inside upper half of the zone.
And so in steps Samantha Smith. Smith, who got the start in the circle for Florida A&M with a runner aboard. As we mentioned earlier, leads the Rattlers in home runs, so representing the tying run at the plate. A chance to do some damage right here and make things considerably more interesting in the top half of the second. The senior from Snellville, Georgia, started her college career at Florida Southwestern. Was the newcomer of the year in the SWAC a couple of seasons ago. Holds off upstairs to pull ahead in the count.
I'll tell you what, tip your cap to Ashton Danley. Giving up the leadoff single, but 2 quick strikeouts to the next 2 batters to really kind of deaden the momentum that the Rattlers might have put together right there. Although she has fallen behind here to the power-hitting Smith.
3 strikeouts in total for Ashton Danley, who trails 3-1. Good spot there. It runs full.
Tell you what, Danley's rise ball today has got a little extra juice on it, huh? It's moving.
Got her swinging. And after the leadoff single for Ashton Danley, she goes strikeout, strikeout, strikeout.
Yeah, strikes out the side right there. Ashton Danley just electric in the circle today.
Fan work is thirsty work. Enjoy a Coca-Cola.
Boy, we're fired up for softball, aren't we here?
Hey, somebody knows they're on camera.
Perhaps a future play-by-play guy in the works. You never know.
Hey, I don't. The little kid definitely looks like a color guy.
Okay.
I'm thinking a color guy. He looks like he's got.
He knows the game. He can break it down.
Yeah, he might have some extra stuff to say.
Angeli Bueno will lead things off here for Florida State, who goes 9-1-2.
And Angeli Bueno, we talked about her a little bit this weekend. Just, trying to find her bat, find her stride. She had a couple hits in the last game for the Noles, so maybe that was the spark needed to really get her going as the season progresses.
All right, hit that ball hard the other way and foul. That'll give us a chance to introduce you to her head coach, Lonnie Alameda, in year number 18 here at Florida State. 7-time ACC Coach of the Year, a national champion, 2-time national runner-up, and a whole bunch of wins in her career, closing in on 1,000 between her time as a head coach out west at UNLV and then, of course, making the move to Tallahassee as well. Wow.
1,000 wins, man. That's just a special honor. I don't care. I mean, you could there's not a lot of people with 1,000 wins in their lifetime, not let alone at this level of play.
And how lucky Florida State is to have the history of coaching that they've had here, right? You look way back, right? Bobby Bowden with the football team. Mike Martin won 2,000 games. Dr. Joanne Graff, Dr. Cecile Reynaud putting the volleyball program on the map. And now you look at what Lonnie Alameda is doing with this program I don't want to say in relief, but it's kind of like a relief pitcher, if you will, from where Dr. Joanne Graff got the start, right? She's come in and she's run with that mantle and won another national championship in 2018.
Well, and you said it, man, with the way college coaching can be somewhat of a carousel sometimes, right? You know, coaches can come and go really quickly, and that just isn't the case here at Florida State. These coaches come and they make a career here, and you see it, man. It's not just that they're not just here to stay. They establish a winning attitude. They bring in wonderful players. They bring in a great attitude and really have carried this program in every sport.
And Lonnie Alameda, to her credit, inherited a winning program and turned it into an NCAA championship program, the 2 national championships, not to minimize them, but it was before they were sanctioned by the NCAA. So in terms of championships that the NCAA formally recognizes, 2018 is the first one for Florida State as a program. But FSU, so incredibly proud of their history, rightfully so, honors the national championships that Dr. Joanne Graff was at the helm for.
And you absolutely have to, man. Dr. Graff was, I mean, as a kid growing up in Tallahassee, she was coaching when I was coming up through these, you know, coming to these games and coming to the baseball games, watching Mike Martin. I mean, imagine those Florida State coaching meetings with Bobby Bowden, Dr. Graff, Mike Martin, and whoever the luckiest AD at the time was. The guy didn't have to hire or fire anybody, right?
Longevity. Marin Heller's going to work the walk. And so that is consecutive walks issued here by Zuriana Hughes. Just one strike between the first 2 Seminole batters that she's faced off against.
Right. Marin Heller with her 2nd walk of the game. And I got to tell you, where you see the Coach Beal come into the circle to talk to her pitcher, and I think that's because Jason E. Beecham is up again with runners on base, this time with no outs and Bueno in scoring position. Beecham, to her credit, jumped all over the first pitch she saw in her first at bat, hit a double off the wall. So I think Coach Beal's telling her pitcher, hey, be careful. Stay around the zone, not in the zone, because Beecham can really hit.
She's been able to hit regardless of situation this season. In general, her batting average is .405. With runners in scoring position to this point this year, she's batting .444. With runners on in general, she's batting .500. That'll play.
I mean, when your numbers are going up as you have base runners on, that's pretty incredible.
To no surprise, she leads FSU in RBI, and she's got a chance to add on to it yet again. Bueno rounds 3rd and will touch home. It's 3-0 Noles.
And that's the Jason E. Beecham we love to see. You know, rushes the ball in her first at bat. This ball, she gets up in the count, little high in the zone, stays on top of it, and shoots this ball to center field. Look at that, able to stay on top and through this ball. Shoots it to center field. An excellent base running by the Noles as Bueno's able to score easy, but Marin Heller taking 1st to 3rd without even thinking about it.
Runners at the corners, Beecham on the way to 2nd. Put them both in scoring position now for the Garnet and Gold. Yeah, stolen base for Jason E. Beecham. Her teammates also, they simply just call her Jay. Whatever you call her, she is a bona fide playmaker, which that's not breaking news if you've been watching Florida State softball for a couple of years, but it's really fun watching her have fun. Last year was a difficult year for her at the plate, and difficult for her standards was still better than the vast majority of batters in the country.
Well, I'll tell you this, too. Like, you know, last year, as good as she was as a freshman, she was excellent last year, too. Just a down year, if you could call it that. I mean, the year she had last year was incredible.
Danley's got to run this out, and she'll be safe. Heller touches home. Florida State scores 2 in the first and 2 in the second, and counting.
Well, that is not how you write up an RBI single for Danley. This ball starts off foul and just trickles back into fair territory. I don't think Danley realized it was coming back fair, and then once she did, she took off and was able to beat that play to first. But an RBI single, all the same, is able to bring in Marin Heller and advanced Jason E. Beecham to third base, and that'll bring up Anna Hind. Tell you what, no outs. The speedy Danley at first base. I gotta think SB, right? First pitch.
Number 77.
I think it's stolen base for Danley.
Well, she is 2 of 2 on her attempts. As Hind is going to get situated in the batter's box for the Seminoles. 2 walks, an RBI single, and an RBI infield single have gotten us to this point, with Hind in the batter's box for the second time in as many innings. And Ashton Danley was thinking exactly what you had described, Brandon. She was off and running early.
Yeah, and foul ball right there behind, but I love the aggressive approach, especially with runners on base. She just misses this ball. Wouldn't be surprised to see Danley take off here again.
There she goes.
And another foul ball there by Hind. I'm always a big fan of aggressive. You be aggressive at the plate when you have runners in scoring position. You take advantage of all the strikes that you get. You don't want to take them. You don't want to put yourself in a hole. She's fouled a couple balls off. She is 0-2. But I like the aggressive approach.
Well, upstairs it goes 1 and 2 to Hind.
And Danley taking a breather on that pitch, not stealing, but got to assume she's going to take off on this one.
Off she goes. Hind goes down swinging, but Danley will take the base.
Now batting, number
And guess what?
Kennedy
Harp's back up with a couple runners on base again. Same scenario her first at bat, right? Second, third, only 1 out. And here she is again with another big RBI opportunity.
Harp, who got her season started in her comeback from injury a year ago, just this past weekend with a handful of plate appearances, goes into the big part of the ballpark, slicing and fair. Kennedy Harp's first base hit of the season, plates 2.
You love to see it. You hear these fans here at Florida State. They love them some Kennedy Harp. Look at that smile. Her first hit of the season. Little high, maybe gets jammed, able to stay through it a little bit, shoots this ball to right field down the line. And I'll tell you what I love to see is she never slows down. She's thinking double the entire time. Both runs are able to score. And you're going to see a pinch runner here for Kennedy Harp, but excellent first hit of the season for Kennedy.
That is Maddie Fry, who will pinch run for her veteran teammate, and McKenna Sturgis will step into the batter's box. Welcome back, Kennedy Harp. 2 RBI double for your first hit of the season.
And I know we've said it earlier already, but here we go. One of the hardest.
Deep into the hole.
Yeah. Sturgis, another ball, this time in the hole, but Brown able to handle that ball. Great job by Brown to get there and get rid of it quick. Great stretch at first base right there by the FAMU Rattlers. Good defense all around. That's how you got to get out of these innings. These are tough ones, man. A lot of walks, a couple hits, but a strikeout here, a great defensive play, and you're right back in it with an opportunity to get back in there and go hit.
Right back up the middle and through. McKenzie will plate Fry. and the Noles are pouring it on in the second.
Like I said, man, just one of those tough innings for FAMU defensively, man. But McKenzie, great job right there. This one just to bounce it right over the pitcher's head. Little CNI single right up the middle.
Number 1, Haley Griggs.
And is able to get another run in for the Noles, an RBI single for McKenzie.
Florida State 6 of 11. All of those hits with runners aboard. 5 of those with runners in scoring position. Now 1 of 2 with 2 outs.
Is that good? That's good, right?
That'll work. Let's
Yeah.
check some of those situational boxes. And again, so much of the season still to play. You're just looking for trends and habits, things that bode well.
Right.
And the Noles repeatedly have been able to do things like that. And Haley Griggs has done a lot of things well as that ball, boy, came out of the hand funky. That's an easy stolen base there for McKenzie. No thought needed for Shelby.
No, not at all. That's a good read, but an easy one too at the same time. That ball, I don't know if that was supposed to be a, change up, maybe just stuck in the hand a little bit.
Well, it's going to be scored a wild pitch. No arguments here.
I would say so. I'll tell you what, if there was no netting, we might have caught that ball.
3-0 the count, meanwhile, to Griggs. And for all the success at the plate for Florida State, Griggs continues to put in quality work, just hasn't found a gap, hasn't found space for a ball to drop as she'll take a called strike to make it 3-1. Boy, would it be good to see Griggs get on the board with a big hit here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, Griggs, one of those freshmen in this lineup. I'll tell you what is one of her biggest weaknesses so far has been the strikeout. But when she does put the ball in play, it always seems like it's hit very, very well. She does battle through some at bats, especially when you have runners on base. So expect to see that here with the full count.
Had a flurry of hits early, just hasn't been able to connect of late. 6 hits in total on the season for Griggs. Pulled foul, she stays in the battle.
Like to see this kind of battle from a freshman. 3-2 count. Again, like you say, you're not going to get the perfect pitch every time. So you just battle until you get a mistake you can handle and drive into the field and try to plate this other run over there at second base.
2 in the first, 5 in the second, and Griggs is back on the board. And that hit will plate an 8th run for Florida State. The freshman scampers back to first, and the Noles keep passing the bat in the second.
Big hit right there by Griggs. An incredible at bat, especially with 2 strikes. You love to see it. This ball gets in on the hands, but she's able to pull the hands inside, barrel that ball up, and drive it to left field. And Shelby McKenzie scoring easily from second base. Haley Griggs, big hit right there.
And just a masterful job for Florida State offensively as Bueno continues to pour it on, stretching that out to a double. Florida State's got multiple runners in scoring position. They've already batted around the order. And Marin Heller is going to step back into the batter's box yet again.
Yeah, Bueno started this inning off with a walk, and you see it right there. Gets a second plate appearance this inning and shoots a double into the gap. Tell you what, I like watching Angelique Bueno play. She always has a smile on her face and always looks like she's having fun, doesn't she?
She certainly does. Not sure what this conversation is about. We're going to go to the monitor, though.
Florida State with 6 hits in the inning, Sean. I think they're going to the monitor to make sure all 6 were hit well. Looks like this may be a checking to see if the runner left early. Florida State. One of those schools with a ton of camera angles to be able to see if this is something they'll overturn or not, but and that right there says it. I think that she probably left the base a bit too early. Yeah, so this will be again, it's got to be irrefutable evidence, but that looked pretty guilty right there of leaving early. What do you think, Sean?
I think you make a compelling case. You can see the angst on Griggs' face at third as our umpiring crew has made their decision and will relay it. Wow. All right.
You have to have irrefutable evidence. And you see the excitement right there on Haley Griggs. I think she see it right here. And maybe they got, it kind of looks like the pitcher may have stepped outside of the circle, so maybe that counts. I don't know. But either way, the Seminoles are safe at second and third. Now only 2 outs and back to the top of the lineup, Maren Heller.
But who will Maren Heller face, I think, is the question. Looks like we've got another pitching change in the works. Zoriana Hughes came in and was able to stem the flow of Florida State offense in the first. But the Noles continue to roll here in the second. And we'll come back to Tallahassee after a few moments. Back here in Tallahassee, Soraya Espada will be the third Rattler pitcher we see in these first couple of innings. Trying to find out number 3 in this second is the freshman out of Claremont, Florida. And, you know, there's the numbers for Espada. 7.80 the ERA through 11 2/3, 9 walks, 4 strikeouts. But, Brandon, if there is somebody who you could say is trending for Florida A&M, it might be Espada in the circle, who just picked up her first career complete game against Eastern Illinois in the Rattlers' last game. 4 earned runs, but still a win.
Still a win. You're absolutely right, and that's what you want to see. Freshmen, you know, when you have freshmen coming in and big opportunities, big spots like that, you want to see them perform. And Espada's been really good for the Rattlers as of late, so big opportunity here for her to kind of get her team out of this jam that they're in.
Off speed to Maren Heller. Florida State, after sending 8 to the plate in the first, has sent 10 to the plate here in the second.
And Maren Heller in her third plate appearance already in this game, and only the second inning.
That is tapped foul. And it's important that you mention that they're plate appearances, because she has not yet registered an official AB yet, because she's walked in those first 2 plate appearances. Only saw 1 strike between them, so this already an improvement being behind the count 1-2 if you're Florida A&M. Tried to hold up there, but couldn't. Espada does her job checking into the circle, retiring Heller, and that is how the second inning comes to a close. Still, though, what an inning for Florida State, stretching the lead to 8 at home. back here in Tallahassee as we get set for the third inning between the Rattlers and the Seminoles. FSU checking in yet again to the top 10 of the USA softball rankings. 12-4 on the year, and those 4 losses coming to the number 1 team in the country, Tennessee, number 2, Texas Tech, number 7, Alabama. And between those 3, I believe if my math is mathing correctly, they're combined 43-1.
Yeah, they are pretty stellar, the competition that the Noles have faced. And you saw that team just there in front of them, UCLA, with 3 losses. One of those losses coming to number 10, Florida State.
Yeah, that's an interesting decision, but, you know, I'll pick a different hill to die on in the 3rd week of the season. Michaela Register fouls that away, the junior from Dexter, Georgia. Transferred in from the University of West Georgia. Big cut there, 1 and 2. Ashton Danley with all kinds of run support provided by her offense this afternoon. Emerges back into the circle with all of a sudden an 8-run lead. It stood at 2 after the first and goes off speed upstairs for the strikeout. 49 miles per hour.
Yeah, the changeup right there. Just devastating to Michaela Register. This ball, top of the zone, really slows the bat down of Register. And I'll say, I mean, you know, with the run support, Danley's she's pitching with some confidence. 5 strikeouts already, and not all the way through the entire lineup yet.
And she's recorded the last 4 outs all on strikes. So getting stronger as she works deeper into the order. Kiara Beltre represents the 9-hole hitter here for Florida A&M, the junior out of Orlando. Called strike on the corner, hit it with the drop. I have to go back to it. Maybe I'm not going to pick a different battle to fight this early in the season. How in the world does Florida State get ranked behind UCLA after they just beat them?
I have to assume UCLA had a big weekend. You know, Florida State 3-2 on the weekend, 2 losses to a very insanely good Alabama team. But I have to assume UCLA just had a very, very good weekend against some tough opponents.
And that is no offense to UCLA. It's a tremendous program. Kelly I has done a wonderful job with the Bruins, and they will certainly be a factor in the Big Ten and beyond. Florida State will certainly be a factor in the ACC and beyond. And a lot of that is just semantics. It'll work itself out. But it was an eyebrow raiser for sure, at least to me, when those rankings came out. Beltre, by the way, 3-1 the count to her. Inside, good spot by Danley. It goes full.
I got to agree with you, but I also, you know, tell you what, I'll tell you, the fact that Florida State has already played 4 teams in that top 10 this early in the season has got to tell you that is an incredible feat. And you know, tip your cap to Florida State for scheduling those tough teams this early in the season.
Foul tip there that the new catcher, by the way, for Florida State here this inning, Bella Ruggiero, just couldn't hang on to. So Beltre will see another pitch there. Inside, another just well-placed pitch. Ashton Danley proving she is not afraid to bury her pitches in on the righties.
Ashton Danley, I mean, falling behind early in this at-bat, able to just come back with such precision on that pitch. This ball starts out in the middle and just fades to the inside. That is a tough pitch to hit, but perfectly located by Danley. 6 strikeouts first time through the lineup.
And a ground ball to first will retire the Rattlers in order once more. 3 up, 3 down here in the third, and the Noles will try to add on to their lead when we come back. back here in Tallahassee as we get ready for the home half of the third between the Rattlers and the Seminoles. Always great to have these two proud programs back together again, sharing Jo-Ann Graf Field. Florida A&M, the SWAC tournament runner-up from a season ago, taking on the ACC tournament runner-up, Florida State. The Noles, though, did win the regular season ACC title en route to eventually becoming a regional and super regional host, where their season came to an end when the team that nobody not named Texas could beat came into town and took care of business. 2-0 here to Jason E. Beecham. Hasn't seen anything really competitive to hit.
At least not in this
at
at-bat.
least not in this one, no.
She's seen 2 strikes today, though, and she's got a double and a single to show for it. So what she is seeing in the zone, she is tattooing.
That's hit pretty well, but foul.
Great 2-0, you're looking for a strike, right? You're just looking for a strike. You don't need to expand your zone. You're looking for something down the middle. You can drive. But you get a little anxious at times, and that's what Jason E. did right there. But quickly back into a 3-1. Great hitters count to do it again. Look for something you can drive.
Could she get it right here? Boy, well inside, she'll work the walk.
I gotta say, I don't blame Espada at all. A walk to Jason E. Beecham is better than a homer or a double, which he is so capable of doing.
11, Ashton Danley.
But that'll bring up Ashton Danley, who's been just as good as of late, especially with runners on base.
And Danley on a line to first, and that will double off the Seminoles. Exactly what the Rattlers needed.
Yeah, big defensive play right there for the Rattlers. This ball absolutely scorched by Danley down the line, but right at the first baseman, who was playing close. And Beecham taking off right there on the pitch, just had no chance to get back. That's a great play by the first baseman over there for FAMU, and a big break for the Rattlers.
Off speed to start, Bella Ruggiero. Yeah, tip the cap to Tristan Register over at first, who's another one of those players for Florida A&M who can do a little pitching, but predominantly has been stationed at first so far this season, at least for A&M. Want to know the count to Ruggiero. And a good spot out wide, making it 1-1. Boy, Soraya Espada, she likes her changeup, doesn't she?
I'll tell you what, she's come in and done a great job getting quick outs. I mean, this Seminole lineup has not been an easy one to get out.
And Ruggiero proves exactly why. Good defense, though, by Fernandez in center. Got that ball back in a hurry. It's a very loud 2-out single by Ruggiero on a very well-hit ball.
Big hit right there by Ruggiero.
Number 23, Kennedy Hart.
This ball absolutely tattooed. You see how hard that ball was hit. This ball hits the base of the wall in the air. 220 on a line, but hit so hard that the center fielder was able to get it and get it in pretty quickly and hold Ruggiero to a single. But that brings up Kennedy Harp, who got her first hit of the season and her last at bat with 2 RBIs. So big opportunity for the Noles with a big bat in the box.
A walk and a 2-run double so far today for Kennedy Harp. That double representing just her 5th official AB of the season.
Tell you what, you always love to, as a hitter, you love when your batting average jumps up 200 points in one at bat.
That's exactly what hers did. Ruggiero is off and running.
It's a good read right there by Ruggiero. She gets off the bat. You know, everybody's getting that great jump over there at first base, but she reads this ball down and takes off. Not a chance to get her. And now she's in scoring position where if Kennedy Harp hits a single here, it's another run for the Noles.
Instead, it'll be a second walk for Kennedy Harp. To my follow to your point about her batting average going up 200 points in her last AB could have gone up another 133 right here.
Yep.
But she'll take the walk. It's productive.
Yeah, and you know what? She'll have an opportunity next time up to get those same 133 points.
Here is Sturgis. And it just bears repeating, Brandon. I really enjoy watching her at the plate. Really nice swing. It really feels like a simple approach. And just keeping it super simple in the box and hammering everything that resembles a strike.
Man, she is so athletic, and such fast hands. You watch her, just even watching her take her practice swings, you're like, man, this is somebody who knows what they're doing. You see those eyes, she's so laser focused, but you combine that with the athleticism and how fast she can get that barrel to the ball. She is a force to be reckoned with.
Already 1 for 2 today with an RBI single, also grounded out up the middle. Underneath this one. It'll drop into the glove of Beltre and shallow right, and that'll be how this inning comes to a close for the Seminoles. Much better inning defensively for Florida A&M, who trail by 8 through 3.
When you work with someone who knows a lot and cares even more, you're unstoppable.
Welcome back to Tallahassee on the ACC Network Extra. Florida A&M trailing by 8, looking to make some inroads on the Seminoles. And if they're going to do so, it might have to be against Marley Gaskell, who gets the call for Lonnie Alameda. Want to know the record through 7 prior appearances, 4.92 the ERA through 15 2/3 innings, 7 walks, 10 strikeouts. And you're still at that point of the season, Brandon, where sometimes numbers are just deceiving. Looking at Gaskell and her outings so far this year, she's given up 11 earned runs, but 10 of those have come in 2 appearances against teams that are ranked in the top 10. 5 earned against Tennessee, 5 more against Alabama. And aside from that, she has been nails against everybody else.
Right, and you know what? As a freshman, that's some stuff. That's the kind of statistics you'd expect to see, right? I'm going to pin you up against some of the best in the entire country and see what you got. And, some of the better teams, your number 1 team in the country, happen to score 5 runs off you. All right, tip your cap to them. But you come in games like this, you kind of work through your stuff and gain some confidence, because you are going to face those type of teams again. Florida State's going to rely heavily on this young pitching staff to be able to handle themselves in big games. But it does take games like this and appearances like this to build that confidence.
2-2 the count here to Fernandez, and I think that's an interesting point, Brandon. The uptick in terms of the competition. And once upon a time for Florida State to have the RPI points that they needed to be a postseason host, they relied on playing the Tennessees and the Alabamas just simply to make sure their RPI was high enough. Now they can get those RPI points in their league, as Fernandez will ground out to third. But just sort of going back to that point, the ACC as a whole, much deeper. A lot of that credit to FSU and what Lonnie Alameda has built here, making it cool for kids in high school to go to the ACC when the Pac-12 had been the way year in, year out. Or, of course, the SEC with the success they had, Oklahoma individually, whether it was Big 12 or SEC for a number of years. But FSU has really led the charge, and now the ACC as a whole is a legit RPI conference. And so, a few weeks, month or so from now, FSU is going to get right back at it with top 25 caliber teams again.
Absolutely, and that's why you schedule those tough teams this early in the season. It's pitch your pitchers and your players up against some tough competition, and tell them, hey, this is what it's going to look like towards the end of the season. We may not be 100% there yet, but by the end of the season, we're going to count on you guys to be able to perform against this type of caliber team.
Boy, a couple of change-ups there. Fan Espada. Boy, Gaskell's got good feel for the off-speed here early in her relief appearance.
Yeah, great change-up right there by Gaskell. And yet another strikeout by Florida State pitching. Gaskell coming in and just leaving right where Danley left off.
Well, Amari Brown is the one Rattler batter that the Noles were not able to figure out the first time through the order. She was able to single to lead off the second. Aside from that, you mentioned all the strikeouts by Florida State. They fed the defense a little bit with a couple of ground outs. There've been, I think, just the one fly ball, actually, to right field. So everything's actually been down on the ground or past the batter. Save for Amari Brown singling into left. Another changeup and a good one at that. A ball and 2 strikes to Amari Brown. And we talked about the challenge ahead for Florida State. Let's not discount Florida A&M, who comes into today batting a team .326, scoring 6.5 runs per game. They've held them to a hit. And Brown couldn't hold up there. So Gaskell, she spells her name with 1 K, and in this 4th inning, she picks up 2.
Another couple strikeouts for Florida State pitching, and Gaskell coming in where Danley left off. You see that the rise ball here, but the changeup, the devastating pitch for Gaskell this inning.
Thank you to champions.
The home half of the 4th coming your way in Tallahassee, but to see where we've come from, boy, do we have a highlight pack for you. It started in the 1st for Florida State, Brandon. They scored 2. Then they'd score 6 more in the 2nd. They have been on fire at the plate.
The bats have been alive for the Noles today. You see that Jason Beecham double, and then she's going to come right back here with another RBI single in the 2nd. And the big bat of the day, Kennedy Harp with her first hit and 2 RBIs. You see Shelby McKenzie also adding to the run total, but Florida State, man, big hits. And just anytime they get runners in scoring position, they seem to just be able to drive them in.
So Florida State continues to feast at the plate. That last highlight there. On top of all of it, Haley Griggs with a single into left. She'd been on a bit of a hitting drought. I'm not going to use the word slump. I think slump is a negative way to describe just not being able to find the gaps or the outfield when you've been making a lot of quality contact. And that's what she'd been doing, so maybe that'll be something that gets Haley Griggs going. Shelby McKenzie, a ball and a strike.
Yeah, we talk about, you know, how the bottom of a lineup can really determine how well your game's going to go. And so far today, the Florida State 7, 8, 9 hitters have 2 singles and a double. And those are the hitters that Florida State really wants to see get going. So Shelby McKenzie, a single in her last at bat. Florida State would love to see her do it again right here.
Boy, that changeup once again by Espada goes 2-2 now to McKenzie. Worth mentioning for the Noles up and down the order. Everybody in the starting lineup, including Danley, who hit for herself in the circle, recorded a base knock in the first few innings of this game. McKenzie here grounds out to the right side of the Rattler infield.
This is a great 2-strike swing by McKenzie. Ball is absolutely squared up, but directly at the second baseman, who makes easy work of Shelby McKenzie.
How about Soraya Espada in relief? An inning and now 2/3. Just the 1 hit given up. I know she's walked a couple people, but a big strikeout, and she has kept Florida State's timing off balance enough that she's been able to work through a lot of these FSU bats here over the last couple of innings.
I'll tell you what, the ball comes out of her hand really, really well. It's almost like a built-in changeup. The way that it comes out of her hand, it's like it's releasing.
Well, I'll tell you who just released. Haley Griggs put a charge into that ball to left. and that has been the story for her at the plate.
You're absolutely right. Griggs, another barrel, this one driven all the way out and caught on the warning track in left center field. I think both of us thought that ball had a charge put in it, but just shy of a home run. Haley Griggs, man, she has made some excellent contact over the past few games.
Angelique Bueno. Don't look now, but Angelique Bueno has been trending here of late at the plate for Florida State. Batting average up to 261 for Angelique. Just very quietly continuing to grind at the bottom of the order, putting the barrel on the ball. She recorded a double back in the second in addition to working a walk. She came to the plate twice. She actually led off that inning for Team 43. But she has been piling up the hits here of late.
Yeah,
had a couple against Elon as well.
Yeah, last on Sunday with a couple hits and two really good at bats so far here tonight. But down 0-2 right here, you see Angelique really battling through this at bat, so she must be seeing it well.
Got out of the way there. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Bueno, who bats ninth. Aaron Heller will be in the on-deck circle for the Seminoles, looking for an opportunity to do more damage with runners aboard. 2 walks and a strikeout for Heller. 1-2 the count to Bueno. As she'll go the other way with it, could be trouble. Dropping and fair. Second hit of the game for Angelique Bueno, and she's gotten multiple hits in consecutive games for the Seminoles.
Love to see that smile, always having fun. And I'll tell you, when things are going your way, those type of balls will fall. A great 2-strike approach, not trying to do too much. Goes up and gets this ball and just finds the hole down the left field line. Great at bat by Angelique Bueno. 2 outs for the Seminoles, flips the order.
10 hits for Florida State as a team. Bueno is going to go all the way to third. She was stealing second anyway, and then off the bobble, she took another 60.
Angelique Bueno showing off the wheels right there. She gets to second, no problem, but she sees that ball gets away and never slows down. Never a doubt in her mind that she was taking third base right there. And why that's such a big play, right? That puts, now you got a base runner 60 feet away from scoring. That puts so much more pressure on a defense. That puts pressure on the pitcher, and it puts pressure on the catcher, right? And you got the leadoff hitter, Heller, who's walked twice and has had a stellar start to her Florida State career. You know she can hit. So Angelique Bueno really shaking things up for the Noles right here in the fourth.
Heller, who steps into the batter's box, ahead in the count 1-0, and for the 4th time in as many innings for Florida State. I mentioned the 2 walks and the strikeout. Goes right back up the middle and through, and that is just a killer for Soraya Espada, who got off to such a positive start in this bottom of the 4th. A ground out, a fly out, a single that wasn't hit very well, but then off a stolen base and then a bobble by the catcher, the ball rolls away, a double steal and a single, a run scores.
You think about if Angelique Bueno is still on first base, the second baseman might be shaded towards second base and actually field that ball, right? So because of the high quality base running right there, Maren Heller able to drive a ball up the middle and get a single, and you see her taking off another stolen base for the Seminoles, their 5th here tonight.
Now, Brandon, you've been with me for the better part of the last couple of weeks, really since we started this season. As you've watched the Seminoles operate on the base paths, how would you describe the work they put in that department?
I'll tell you what, it's such a game changer, base running, right? If you can get to the next base, advance yourself, put yourself in scoring position, it just does things to the defense that hitters can take advantage of, right? And that's where the Seminoles have thrived so far this season. They have done a great job of taking advantage of mistakes, advancing themselves, and putting themselves in a position to score runs.
And Jason Beecham well ahead in the count here. A double, a single, 2 RBI, a walk on 5 pitches, and now a walk on 4.
I was going to say green light for Jason tonight. She is seeing the ball well. But I don't blame the spot at all right there. You have the open base at first, and putting Jason Beecham on first base is probably one of the wiser moves rather than letting her swing the bat. Beecham, we talked about it a little bit this weekend. Tons of walks so far this year. She's seeing the ball really, really well.
And so too, really, is Ashton Danley. 1 for 3 yet again today. Batting average at .370 for Ashton, who had a very positive day in the circle as well. And boy, that was hit well.
Well, it reminds me of her last at bat. I'll tell you what, she's 1 for 3, but her last at bat, she absolutely smoked the ball to first baseman to the FAMU first baseman. It wound up being a double play. That ball right there also scorched.
Outside. So 1-2 the count to Danley, who for her work in the circle, in addition to being 1 for 3 at the plate, did a really nice job in relief against Alabama. 1 1/3 scoreless there. Tacks on more offense for Florida State as well. 2 runs are gonna score. Danley is heading to third and slides in ahead of the tag for a 2 RBI triple.
And spectacular swing. I love to see the opposite field power. Danley, who's been hitting it all over the field hard. This ball just driven over the FAMU left fielder's head, and she just never slows down. Excellent base running by the Seminoles once again. Danley showing off the wheels and sliding into third for a triple.
Bella Ruggiero steps in. And Bella has a single.
Yeah, single and a stolen base for the Florida State catcher. She didn't start the game behind the plate, but came in and already done damage.
Everybody in the starting lineup has either recorded a hit or, in Anna Hines' case, worked a walk.
Right. Every single Florida State hitter who has been in there has been on base.
Yeah, I was going to say you can expand that with Ruggiero, absolutely. One and one the count. In Florida State, by the way, all of this in this 4th inning has come with 2 outs. FSU situationally with 2 outs, 7 of 10.
Well, that's very tough to defend, I'll say that. That is excellent approaches at the plate, good eyes, and man, it's so much fun to watch is how they battle with 2 strikes too. How many hits do they have with 2 strikes tonight?
Yeah. 3-1 the count here, meanwhile, to Ruggiero. And that rode in and got her. Boy, this will be the 3rd time in 4 innings that the Noles have sent at least 8 to the plate.
And you love to see, well, I was going to say, you love to see Kennedy Harp coming up with another RBI opportunity, but tough inning. What looked to be a good start to the inning. 2 quick outs for Espada. That's turned into 3 hits and a walk since, and a hit by hit batter. But now you got Kennedy Harp, who has had some success. I was going to say we've had 3 Noles with multiple hits. The only reason Kennedy Hart doesn't have those is because she's walked twice as well.
Yeah. And again, just going back to Espada. You mentioned it. I mentioned it too after the first run of this inning scored. Ground out, fly out. And look, give Angeli Bueno credit. A lot of people are going to have a lot of those kind of hits where they're going to just sort of carve one in. It's going to drop inside, and it's just not going to be playable just based on positioning alone. It wasn't, but it was not a ball that she barreled up. So you got to credit Espada for doing her job.
Absolutely.
And jamming her to the point that she didn't really barrel it up. You tip the cap to Bueno for recording a hit off of that, but she could have just as easily gone through those 3 in order.
Well, you think about Bueno, too. That pitch that she hit was a pitcher's pitch because it was a 1-2 count. So you tip your cap to both girls. Like, I think Espada made the right pitch. Bueno just, won that battle. But, man, 2-out rally for the Noles is what she started, I'll tell you that.
And then on a straight steal of second, Florida A&M, Spooner got the ball behind her, lost it in the backstop, and Bueno looked up, saw that, and took third as well on a single from Heller. She scored, and the Noles have been off to the races since with 2 outs on the board. That's how quick it can happen.
It's just immediate pressure put on this FAMU defense and pitcher Espada, but where does it end,
Kennedy Hart doesn't want it to end with her. Down in the dirt, Ruggiero will go back to first. The throw gets into center field. And Danley will score.
And I'll tell you, that's what a long inning will do, right? The catcher catches this ball, makes a great throw, perfect throw. But look at this, nobody there. Shortstop and the second baseman both kind of lulled to sleep, I think, by the long inning. And that's what a long, when you string a bunch of hits together and some walks, that's what a long inning will do. It'll put your defense to sleep a little bit.
A pulled foul by Harp.
Full count to Kennedy Hart.
12-0 Seminoles, who have checked all the boxes today against, to be clear, a very good Florida A&M team. Harp rockets it right back up the middle. Ruggiero will go first to third, and Harp, off that errant throw, will take second.
Another phenomenal 2-strike approach by the Noles, and a ball just absolutely tattooed up the middle. Kennedy Hart, her second hit of the night, the 4th Nole with multiple hits tonight. And McKenna Sturgis is up, who only 1 for 3 tonight. Probably as good as she's been.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the only Noles that has been out twice.
And this could be trouble. It will be. Another run will score. Ruggiero touches home, and that'll likely go down as an infield single for Sturgis.
I'll tell you what, when it rains, it pours. The 5th hit of this inning, a walk, a hit batter, and all of this happening with 2 outs.
Confirmed an infield single for McKenna Sturgis. Just a funky little check there in the dirt. And Shelby McKenzie steps in for the second time this inning.
McKenzie's done some big things for the Noles with runners on base as of late.
And she can pack plenty of punch for the Seminoles. Several home runs already this year for Shelby. Also has a double. 4 for 10 hits coming into today, in fact. Extra base variety. Big cut there, 1 and 2.
And probably missed a, what we would call a routine double earlier in this game. Hit a ball off the base of the wall, but hit it so hard the center fielder was able to get it in really quickly.
On the ground and away from second, Florida State will score again. Runners are back on the corners. McKenzie at first, Sturgis goes first to third as Harp will touch home.
That ball hit very, very well. A very tough play for the second baseman as McKenna Sturgis is running to second base. Kind of creates a little bit of a wall there, or kind of blocks that ball as it's coming in, and it makes it tough on the second baseman. You really got to follow that ball into your glove. But really hard hit ball by McKenzie. Noles are safe all around.
Griggs waits on the change and drives it foul.
We've talked about Haley Griggs tonight. She has hit some balls hard, a hard fielder's choice in her first at bat, a rocket of a single in her second at bat, and a ball all the way to the warning track in her last at bat.
If you're scoring the game at home, it's an E4 for Shelby McKenzie. Griggs behind the count here, 0-1. Takes strike 2.
Well, 2 out hits and 2 strike hits seem to be what the Noles do best. So Haley Griggs set up for success right here.
Goes the other way with it, and that play will be made in right by Lee. So Griggs flies out to right to put an end to the inning. But again, Florida State with another 6th spot. They lead 14-0. Well, Florida State just had the great donut race out in the outfield. I'm not sure who won, but donuts don't sound like a bad idea.
No, I'll take a. You ever had donuts for dinner?
No, but it's not a bad concept hearing about it.
No, not at all.
Florida State up 14-0 over FAMU, in shape to run rule the Rattlers, which means tomorrow the Noles begin the Unconquered Invitational. Now that has moved up, a doubleheader between the FGCU Eagles and the 10th ranked Seminoles, originally scheduled for Friday, but due to inclement weather, we'll get an early start. And then on Saturday, the Noles will play Rutgers twice right here at the Seminole Softball Complex. Both of those second games in each doubleheader respectively will start roughly 30 minutes after the first, as Keely Spooner takes a little frustration out on McKenna Reed. That is a rocket shot right back up the middle off FSU's fresh arm.
Yeah, McKenna Reed making a pitch, and holy smokes, it's coming right back up the middle. Keely Spooner with an absolute rocket back up the middle there. Sure, she's got some family here. She's from just down the road, about 45 minutes down the road, Mariana.
Jordan Douglas will step in. And a chance for McKenna Reed, despite the leadoff single, to build on some positive momentum. The senior from Portland, Oregon. 10 2/3 innings of work, ERA above 5, 11 strikeouts to 2 walks. And we've seen the positive, high swing and miss stuff from McKenna Reed. She's had some trouble with some of, the better hitting teams in the country going yard on her. I will say the caveat in St. Pete was they played that game against Tennessee in a wind tunnel.
Right.
But that having been said, oof, boy.
This one fouled off the catcher's face mask there, but see Ruggiero give the thumbs up. I'm good. That's why you wear the protective gear. Scary for sure, but I think she's fine. You see her smiles all around. And I'll tell you what, one thing about McKenna Reed is she throws a lot of strikes, and that might be where her, where her, I wouldn't even call it a downfall, where the power numbers are coming from. You saw that hit by Keely Spooner just now. The ball was squared up, but she throws a lot of strikes in the zone, and I think McKenna Reed, if she can get to where she's, making, you say as a good pitcher, you want your balls to look like strikes, and you want your strikes to look like balls. So try to work those corners a little better and create some chase pitches that miss a few barrels.
fouled away by Jordan Douglas into the netting, off speed there by Reed, who, when she came into Florida State, was known for her ability to throw the ball up in the zone at a ridiculous amount of velocity. And as she has grown and as she has developed a deeper arsenal, has worked in some more secondary stuff, off-speed stuff. 1-2 to Douglas, looking at the corner there, 2-2 the count goes. But Reed, over the last combined 4 innings between Dartmouth, Alabama, and Elon, did give up a solo shot to the Crimson Tide, but that's it. Everything else scoreless over that last weekend or so of play, with 8 of her 11 strikeouts coming in that period, and she picks up right where she left off with a strikeout there.
I'll tell you, in McKenna Reed's defense, right, there's about 10 different pitchers that gave up solo home runs,
yes,
to the Alabama offense.
That entire weekend, yes. Bama just absolutely pummeled everybody.
Yeah, their offense was just an absolute force to be reckoned with. They were barreling everything up, and you talk about a wind tunnel. The wind was blowing pretty hard here, but they figured it out pretty quick and drove a lot of balls over that fence.
Well, Samantha Smith can drive balls over fences. As we mentioned at the top of the show, she leads FAMU in home runs. 1-1 the count to her.
Started in the circle tonight for FAMU.
She did. Pops this up. Ruggiero giving chase.
Not the best route to that ball, but you like to see the effort. Tell you what, those are tough, man. Those are the hardest balls for catchers because they are spinning backwards. You almost have to set yourself up very soon, very quickly in the proper position with your back to the infield, because that ball is going to spin its way back to the infield. So tough to get in that position right there with how high that one was.
Boy, FAMU just tried to start the hit and run. Not a bad idea.
Smith squares that ball up and foul, but gives you a little taste of what she can do power-wise.
Another strikeout for McKenna Reed.
McKenna Reed, another strikeout. Works ahead of Smith. Throws this ball up and out on the outer side, outer part of the zone. And I'll tell you what, that pitch looks so hittable, but it is not hittable at all for Smith. That was a great pitch by McKenna Reed.
Only 10 strikeouts for Florida State's pitching staff tonight.
I mean, when you combine that with their approach at the plate, it's a recipe for a big win.
So far, that's exactly what it's shaped up to be. The Noles an out away from a run rule victory over their crosstown friends from Florida A&M. A ball and a strike to Michaela Register. Well off the plate. And we mentioned the way that Alabama scored runs this past weekend. You look at the way Florida State scored runs tonight. Very different in nature, but by no means any less effective. 14 runs in 5 innings. They've passed the bat exceptionally well, and as you mentioned, they've gotten good production out of the circle too.
I will say 14 hits as well. You got 14 hits. They're taking their walks. They're putting pressure on the defense. I mean, they're doing everything you could ask a lineup to do to be productive, and that's what they've been today. Now, and like you said, you combine that with the quality pitching, it's a recipe for a big win.
It's been comprehensive excellence tonight by the Seminoles. Register fouls that back. A leadoff single by Spooner, the catcher. And since then, 2 strikeouts swinging to Douglas and Smith. Reed in her sole inning of work here tonight, trying to close this one up. Goes off the plate, it's full. Register, a career .335 batter at West Georgia, which is now a D1 program. Caught a piece.
Really good at bat here by Register, who was down early and has worked the count back to full. You see her right there with an exceptional swing on a very close pitch, just fouling it off. Keep moving, keep grinding through the at bat until you get a pitch you can handle. That's shaping up for a great at bat right here for Register.
Another one fouled away. Good battle here, as you mentioned. Register, I also referenced her body of work at West Georgia. But she's a player kind of like a Haley Griggs. A lot of her offense has come early this season. 6 of her 9 hits, in fact, came over the Rattlers' opening weekend. 4 games on the 6th and 7th combined. Just 3 since. And that will be a called strike 3. And that will do it. Florida State, boy, you name it, any department. The base running was terrific. The hitting, outstanding up and down the order. The pitching, really, really good. 11 combined strikeouts. Boy, hard to find a weakness tonight, Brandon.
You said you can't find a weakness. Every part of the game was done the right way for the Seminoles tonight against their crosstown rivals. You got base running, 2-out hitting, 2-strike approaches at the plate, and then you top that off with 11 strikeouts in the circle. Florida State just had a very dominant game today.
Clean defense, too. That's the last element. No errors. But, of course, when you have that many strikeouts, you're not going to really put the ball in play to make your defense play. But, wow, for Florida State going into this weekend, what impressed you the most about what you've seen from them? We saw how they responded from the disappointment to Alabama against Elon. Now, this is a second consecutive overwhelming performance by the Noles.
Top to bottom in the lineup, the approach at the plate. That's what sells it for me. Each and every one of these hitters is going up there and trying to pass the bat to the next person. They're doing a great job, especially with runners on base. But if you take a look at the bottom of that lineup in the last couple of games, they are really starting to get some movement and figure it out. And that is what the Seminoles need. They need the bottom of that lineup to be as good as they can be to pass that baton back to the top and get these bats going. And man, what a day for every Seminole. But the bottom of the lineup and the approaches at the plate, that's what I like to see. And I think that's going to carry the team to the next games.
Well, those next games will be tomorrow, a doubleheader between FGCU and FSU. Lonnie Alameda, the great Veronica Wiggins, the living legend from Florida A&M, with some pleasantries before the game, and a lot of pleasantries for those in garnet and gold all the way throughout. The Noles 14-0 winners. For Brandon, our producer Tucker Pierce, director Abby Longhofer, the entire crew, Sean Davison signing off and saying good night from the Plex.